All right, here we go. Mm, share. Nope, video's not up. There we go. All right.
You think most people misunderstand about stress?
Yeah, the findings that I think are overlooked tremendously are the following experiment. There's an experiment in animals where a rat is given the opportunity to run on a treadmill, and rats and rodents of all kinds love running on treadmills. You know, there are these interesting. We'll see who catches this fly first.
Yeah, I'm ready, man.
Yeah, I think there's even a study from Hoppy Hofstra's lab at Harvard that showed that if you put running wheels in fields, that rodents will run there in the middle of the night and run on them. That's how insanely obsessed with running.
They're just energetic. They want to go.
There's something rewarding about it for them. But in any event, it lowers their blood pressure. It leads to improvements in a number of metrics that you expect. And you see the same thing in humans, right? Who run on a treadmill or run outdoors or swim, cardiovascular exercise. Okay. Well, Sapolsky, and I love to talk about an experiment where they took two different cages with animals. One is running voluntarily, but then that running wheel is tethered to a running wheel in another cage that encloses an animal, forces it to run every time the other one runs. So forced exercise versus voluntary exercise. And the takeaway is very straightforward. Voluntary exercise leads to all sorts of improvements in health metrics, resting heart rate, blood pressure, blood glucose, resting blood glucose, et cetera, waking blood glucose. The animal that's forced to exercise, you see the opposite. Right. So it's not exercise per se. It's something about being forced to exercise causes decrements in a number of health metrics. And you see the same thing in humans. So what's wild is my colleague, Dr. Ali Crum, Department of Psychology.
Monday.com is the best AI for work. And here's why. Let me show you some of the mind-blowing things thousands of companies are already doing with Monday.com.
At Stanford has done these beautiful experiments on mindset and belief. These are not placebo effects. And what she's shown in a just absolutely spectacular way is that if people watch a short video about all the ways in which stress can really diminish your health, well, then indeed stress diminishes their health. Whereas if a separate group watches a factual, also 5-minute, also factual tutorial on all the ways that stress can enhance performance by harnessing your ability to focus, memory formation, et cetera, all of which is true. That's indeed what you see.
Can I give you my favorite one that I learned about over the last year?
Yes.
So the Boston Marathon bombing, 2012, about 10 years ago, 2016 maybe. Anyway, Boston Marathon bombing, a study was done comparing people who had been at the actual marathon while the bomb had gone off and people who had watched 90 minutes or more of news coverage about it. And the people who watched 90 minutes or more of news coverage about it showed a greater stress response than the people who'd literally lived through it.
Interesting. Yeah. The mindset and belief effects are absolutely extraordinary and very real, right? I mean, I think, recently I've been reading and researching a lot about and did a podcast on tenacity and willpower. And there was this idea early on from Baumeister and colleagues that willpower is a limited resource. Some of that
ego depletion?
Ego depletion.
Yes.
It was controversial. They showed that, replenishing glucose in between hard tasks could restore willpower.
They showed that, was it juries or judges that were low in blood glucose were more likely to give harsher sentences, stuff like this?
Yeah, it sort of wicked out to a number of naturalistic situations, and it made good sense. And then my colleague Carol Dweck, also in the psychology department at Stanford, most famously known for her work on growth mindset, did an experiment in which they essentially asked whether or not tenacity and willpower are limited in terms of being some sort of resource, and also whether or not it was somehow linked to glucose availability, fuel in the brain and body, and found that if people thought or were told that willpower was a limited resource, that's indeed what they observed experimentally. But that if they were taught or we're told that willpower is unlimited and divorced from glucose levels, well, then that's exactly what you
So
saw.
you're saying that learning about ego depletion and believing that willpower is a limited resource is an information hazard that is self-fulfilling.
Potentially. Now, Baumeister, showed himself to be, pretty determined when and countered the Dweck counter by showing that if there's a hard task followed by a hard task, then your beliefs about willpower can impact your performance on the second task. So aka Dweck is right. But that if you have a hard task, and then another hard task, so back to back to back tasks or more, which is a lot of what life is like, well, then it seems that the willpower is a limited resource, and glucose supporting willpower theory holds up a bit better.
What have you come to believe about the difference between willpower and motivation and discipline? How do kind of all of these fit together in your mind?
Yeah, so willpower and tenacity are related to motivation, but they're not quite the same. I think we should think of motivation as the verb state that moves us from, let's just say, apathy to tenacity. Okay, so it's the verb function that moves us along that continuum. Apathy at one end, tenacity and willpower, strong exertion of willpower at the other end. One of the most interesting structures in the entire nervous system is one that gets very little coverage, unfortunately. In fact, most neuroscientists aren't aware of what its function is, and it's called the AMCC, which is the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. You have one on each side of the brain. The name isn't really important, but we want to, to the credit of the structure, we should name it the AMCC. The AMCC receives inputs from a lot of interesting brain areas related to reward, related to autonomic function, so how alert or sleepy we are, to prediction error. It's a hub for many, many inputs and outputs, hormone systems, etc. Beautiful experiments done by my colleague Joe Parvizi at Stanford have shown that if you stimulate this brain area, a tiny little brain area in a human, they immediately feel as if some challenge is impending and they're going to meet that challenge. It's a forward center of mass against challenge response. This has been seen in independent subjects. They do controls where they then tell them they're stimulating, but they're not actually stimulating, and they're like, I don't feel anything. You can turn on and off tenacity and willpower. So there's literally a hub for this. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. I'm going to list off a bunch of peer-reviewed published results in rapid sequence, and I'm happy to point out the substantiation for this, or the references. Okay, individuals that are dieting or resisting some sort of tempting behavior and are successful in doing that, the size and activity in their AMCC goes up over time, and the structure gets bigger. Dieters who fail, flat or downward trajectory of the size and activation of the AMCC. This can be taken too far. Individuals with anorexia nervosa, the most deadly of all psychiatric disorders, where a self-deprivation of food activates excessive reward, there's this kind of loop of reward, their AMCCs are significantly greater size than others. So there's, this can be taken too far. Super agers, which is a bit of a misnomer, because these individuals are people who maintain healthy cognitive function similar to people in their 20s and 30s into their 70s, 80s, and 90s. Their AMCC maintains or increases in size into their later years. Typical agers, the size of, we always hear that you lose brain mass across your lifespan. Well, most of it is from the AMCC. And beautifully, and this is two of my favorite results that really bring this around to a protocol or a takeaway. If people are given an easy task, the AMCC isn't activated. If they're given a hard task, in particular a hard task, physical or cognitive, that they really don't want to do, the AMCC levels of activity go through the roof. And here's what's really cool. They gave aging, people age 60 to 79, the task of adding 3 hours extra per week of cardiovascular exercise. Now, that's a lot, right? 3 1-hour, they call them aerobic classes, but getting their heart rate up to about 65, 70% of maximum. So it's getting into like zone 3-ish area. Yeah, people can look up zone 3, but you nailed it, zone 3. The size of their AMCC increased across that 6-month protocol and offset the normal age-related decline in this brain area in terms of its size. the theory that's starting to emerge is that the AMCC isn't just about tenacity and willpower to push through hard things, that it may actually be related to one's will to live, one's will to continue living. And I think these are some of the most important results. By the way, I didn't participate in any of the research that I just described. I spent a lot of time with that literature, but I think it's so important. I mean, we hear about the amygdala, the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, all of very important brain structures. But if nothing else, hopefully this conversation will put the AMCC on the map.
The one that literally could create your will to live is the one that's being overlooked a little bit.
And it can be, and what's interesting about this structure is that it's involved in generating tenacity and willpower for all things, not just for one situation. And what's really wonderful, I think, about the research literature on this is it's so clear what we need to do. We need to do things. Let's say, like me, you're a person who enjoys weightlifting and you love running. I love those two activities. Well, guess what? Those activities, even if they're hard, like a hard run that I'm really enjoying, or some hard sets in the gym, not going to increase the size or activity of the AMCC. People love to over romanticize the utility of those final 2 reps. Sure, okay, pushing to failure, great. Running hard till your lungs burn, great. But if you enjoy that, you're not increasing your amount of tenacity and willpower, at least according to the research data. What's going to do it is doing something what I call micro sucks or macro sucks. And so micro sucks could be all the little things that you don't want to do during the day. Macro sucks could be the larger things. But of course, you don't want to do things that are going to damage you psychologically or physically. Of course.
Are you really going to miss this?
We do this training once a year. There's 800,000 to 1 million people that'll join us, and it's an opportunity for you at
But everyone, I believe, would benefit from picking a few micro sucks.
What are some of your micro sucks or macro sucks that you could sprinkle throughout the day?
Okay, so on a household maintenance level, I maintain a very clean home. I'm constantly throwing things away as well. But there are a few things, like once I exceed a certain number of dishes in the sink, it becomes this, okay, I'll load the dishwasher later type thing. Like a micro suck for me would be like, especially if something's been in there for a while and it's kind of gross and then you gotta like work through it. And of course I try and put each dish away as I, dirty them up. But so little things, the things like I really don't want to deal with that right now. That's the kind of thing, those harder tasks where you have to breach some barrier, some resistance to put it into, Stephen Pressfield language or our friend David Goggins, right? This idea that one has to callous the mind. I mean, David said that, right?
He's probably got an hypertrophied AMCC that's bigger than most people's.
Probably. And the beauty of having an AMCC that's highly available for activation is that, through the micro and the macro sucks of the day, you have this thing, it's like an engine that you can devote to other things. So then you can devote the AMCC to other endeavors.
I have this thing I called email anxiety, and it's when my unread inbox reaches 3 figures or more. And that's when it kind of follows me around like a poltergeist throughout the day. And that absolutely, for me, that's probably a macro suck. To get through that, it's probably 3 to 4 hours. A lot of it's scheduling. When's this guest coming on? I need to speak to this partner. We go blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I feel that. What else?
It's subjective, right? I mean, what sucks is subjective.
Someone else might love emails.
Yeah, someone might. And I think that, you've talked a lot on your show with various guests about, when we're in too much comfort, we're not meeting our goals. I love deadlines for that reason. I love deadlines. I love pressure.
I think Parkinson's law is as close to a thermodynamic of productivity as we can get. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have a deadline, you will meet it.
Right.
If you do not have a deadline, you will manana until forever.
That's right. And some people, I think, preload the deadline by procrastinating, and then that's what gets their activation energy to a level where they can engage. So I've started thinking about this a lot lately. I love running, but it's interesting. I like to finish at my driveway, and I live on a hill. And actually, this morning I was out for a run, and the gate at the end of the cul-de-sac is my sort of designated stop point. So it actually sucked to do the last 20 meters this morning. So there I probably got a little bit of AMCC activation because everything was the number of negotiations I went through when I turned up my street at the end of this run, whether or not I was going to run this extra 20 meters was ridiculous. I mean, the human brain, was struggling to not do this extra 20 meters. It was so silly. So it's gotta hurt a little bit. Again, you don't want to damage yourself, but I think in the context of, for instance, cognitive learning, getting to the point where you finish something and then forcing yourself to do one little extra bit there at the end.
Yeah.
So, I'm not looking for any credit for it, but I want to be very clear that the scientific literature doesn't call these things microsucks. I call them microsucks.
Yeah.
And I sort of put that out there just to make it clear as to what we're referring to.
Do you know Nick Bear?
I don't.
He's in Austin. He's a athlete and supplement
The
company
runner.
owner. Yep. Yeah. Like
He's
a hybrid
a
athlete.
larger guy, but he runs really fast.
Does bodybuilding shows, does powerlifting, also runs.
To be clear, I know that large guys run fast, but typically they don't run fast for 20 miles.
Correct.
And he does.
That's accurate. His little catchphrase is "Go one more," and it's interesting. What you're saying here is it's not just about the completion of the thing that you're doing, because a lot of the time, the thing that you choose to do, even the thing that's difficult, is done under your own volition. Don't get me wrong. If you do a difficult CrossFit workout, Fran, whatever, 21:59 of thrusters and pull-ups, it is awful. It's hell, right? There's literally a name for what your throat feels like once you finish called Fran cough that people get from having taken their heart rate as high as
spasming of the
that taste of metal in the back of your throat. But what people are doing there, although they're doing something that's difficult, it's like volitionally difficult, and it's within their domain of enjoyment. And what you're saying here is that we're looking to just push ourselves a little bit past that. It's like an unnecessary amount of challenge. And I think that Go One More makes quite a nice reminder for us with the micro suck or the macro suck. Let's push ourselves just a little bit beyond where we would have got our sense of satisfaction, because presumably you get the dopamine, I've completed the task, fuck yeah. And then it's like, and then I do just that tiny little bit more to bring. We'll get back to talking to Andrew in 1 minute, but first.
All right. Neurology class lecture is complete. uh, any just off top thoughts or comments while I pull up this document?
I feel like it's that extra. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because I switched my. I feel it's he's saying it was a lot, but I feel like what I was trying to get the graph of was giving that extra mile, that extra endorphin stem to carry on to the finish line, and I feel it. I feel like are those the same guys who were talking about that part of the muscle in the brain where
Yeah, that's the same neurologist, but that was on his podcast and he was interviewing David Goggins. This
oh
is another guy's podcast, and he invited the neurologist to his podcast, and so he's explaining it now to a different podcaster. So, yep.
word. Okay, solid.
Cool. Anyone else? Okay. I wanted to share that because understanding the natural side and the natural aspect of how to move ourselves forward towards our goals. He mentioned what he mentioned at the end, and it's crazy. I was telling T earlier, like, I just had a really productive day. But this is the day that I had today is the day that would make me feel comfortable and confident to go after the jobs that with the salaries that I want, because I was able to manage myself today, by myself today, one day, right? I'm gonna take tomorrow as it comes, you know what I'm saying? But regardless, I know that I can do it now. And part of, and in particular, the tech sales industry. But when it comes to sales in general, with one of the books that they had us read in the certification, it was called like, what was it called? Fanatical prospecting, I think. But that is the advice that they give in that book is when you're prospecting or when before you in your day, right? And it's time to clock out and you've made all your calls, like make one more. Like always just do one more. And so realizing that I have ADHD now, I see why all of that seems so undoable for me and like stressful because I was like I'm already trying to move and shift. And so it was always hard for me to apply things like this in the past because I didn't realize what was going on with my body. Like literally, I feel crazy inside my body. Um, so, anyways, all that to say is it's just really cool to hear the science behind it. So it's easier to coach ourselves and to moderate ourselves as we're on this journey of progressing. Uh, okay, anybody want to say anything before I hop into the document? All right. If so, just interrupt me. Um, all right.
My bad. I was trying to
Oh,
navigate
go ahead.
to make a
Go
copy, but just real quick, I like how it's this that one more because you never know. You can go through a whole day of calls and it'll be a no's, maybe two yeses, but then that one more call, it can be that call you need, you know? So that's all
Absolutely.
I gotta say on that one.
Absolutely. And like he was saying in the video, it can be applied to, any endeavor in life, any direction, any goal. So, all right. Well, um, click the link. Um, and this popped up for you. Please make a copy and then put your name here. Boom, 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 boom. And then you can access it uh whenever you need to. So a quick just walkthrough from that last video and just how this document works. This hyperlink is to the video. So if you want to go back to it, it's right there. Um, and for this, you can fill it out whenever you want to. Right now, while we're on a call, whatever. No pressure, but definitely something if you're interested that you can go back to. So, what is one area of your life where you want to build more discipline? Um, Yeah, kind of think about that space, right? Especially in that regard, right? And a lot of times I know for me, especially when it comes to my goals, starting with something physical is like the most tangible like thing. Because this can be applied to any area, I'll go with like a physical and then I'll try to apply it to something that's not physical. Um, but yeah, say what's mine? An area where I want to build more discipline is is my physical discipline, like fitness, I should say. Ugh, that's how I know it's a micro suck or a micro suck because I don't even want to put it. If anybody want to share, just hop off and or be in the chat. I'm gonna keep going. What is one small, manageable micro suck you can commit to this week to build that discipline? Wake up 30 minutes earlier, cold shower. Oh, I did a cold shower last week. I'm so proud of myself. No phone first hour, 10-minute daily walk. I already do a walk. I need to do cardio. I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm just gonna say run, cardio in the wait. In the morning. Let's say that. Why did I choose this a micro suck? What do I hope to gain? I chose it for, I chose it because I've been avoiding it. I hope to not hate it so much and improve my, and to improve and maintain good cardio health. Mm-mm-mm. I've been eating better, so now I'm like, ah, I gotta get the moving a bit. Oh, I gotta pick a day. We gotta pick a day, y'all. Dang it. What's today? I'm gonna do it tomorrow, bro. God damn. And this is being recorded, so. Mm-mm-mm. I'm adding Yanni to the chat, to the call. I'm gonna intro her real quick. What's up, Yanni? I'll catch you up to speed.
Hey.
Thanks for hopping in. We doing some work right now. We watched a video on discipline.
Can you send it to me?
Yes, so I'm gonna drop the doc in the chat. Bam. That is this information. Please be sure to make a copy first. But this link, right, hyperlink is the video.
Beautiful. Okay, you
Yep.
shared the link to the document. Got it. And then we all making copies of the document. Oh, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. I
Mm-hmm.
like this. I like this.
I'm saying a little something,
You,
something.
you feel me?
Um, and so, Yanni, I don't know if we mentioned before or talked about it on the call, but the neurologist that, or the neuroscientist that talked about the part of your brain that gets bigger whenever you do something you don't want to do, actually being connected to your willpower or your will to live, right? Which to me, that is like the overcomer. Were you about to say something?
No.
What you thinking?
Uh, no, I was thinking about like the founder of neuroscience. His daughter works at the ACLU. Um, like neuroplasticity, my bad, the founder of that.
Mhm.
His daughter, like I worked really closely with her, so I was just making sure that it wasn't the same person.
Oh.
But it's a Jewish man who decided or who did research on the fact that our brain was able to connect, like create new pathways.
Mm.
And I was really surprised, but she does work. She leads the Reimagined Child Safety Coalition. And she said that that book or that study got her through college. And I thought this was as old as time. I thought the study was as old as time. Now I didn't realize it was literally only like a generation away.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I was processing right now.
Fire. Thank you for sharing. Like I said, anybody want to say something, just cut me off. Um, And so, yeah, there's a practice here, or a kind of a protocol of microsucks to kind of help us to identify ways to intentionally, yeah, to be intentional about strengthening that part of our brain, which will help us to be more disciplined, and to reach our goals and to ultimately have a higher percentage of living longer. And so, and this is what I've done. Like when I quit my job last year, and I created space for myself, understanding how my brain is wired. I'm like, I need space to implement the structures that is best for how I'm wired. And so I came across this study and I started to do it. I'm like, dang, I'm about to go outside and do some lunges. I'm just gonna do two or do three. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that really help me to manage my body a little bit better, like to the point to where like, drinking smoothies and like doing some of the things to having like a perfect day today. Like, it's been about 6 months of me working through like applying um this concept or whatever. So answer to number one, all of them. Gotta pick one. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And so yeah, so these are my answers, Yanni. I chose fitness. Uh the micro suck I can commit to is cardio in the morning. Because like I said, I've done stuff where like the lunges, right? Like and what I did, I don't mind doing that now. You feel me? And so I don't want to run. That's what I'm avoiding. And so that's why I chose it. Um, Execution plan. Why? When? Tomorrow. God dang. Okay, how will I remind myself? Oh shit. Okay, accountability partner. Y'all can keep me
I gonna
accountable.
say I might fuck around and text you in the morning. What time you
You
wake up?
feel me? Oh, I gotta say a time. God dang.
Oh yes, commitment issues. Me too, because I've been saying every day that I'm gonna wake up at 5 a.m. and my alarm go off and I roll over and Eric Thomas would not be happy.
Be
Hey,
yelling at you.
mine is Tuesday and Friday. So,
Ooh,
I'm still open to them.
okay.
I did a phone alarm too, you know, but I'm still open for accountability partner for sure.
I'm
Hit the For The Homies text chat.
I'm gonna do 6 a.m. But I gotta put how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna run around the block once.
And you can also run the long ones and walk the short ones too. That's a transition that I kind of do. I do hit that way.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Yeah, look, I'm not even. When I say run, I
Big
don't even really mean run. But I'm like, when
fast
I'm
paced
tired,
walk.
nigga, I'ma stop because that's not what I'm focused on in this goal. This goal is just getting my butt up and moving my body. And then once I get that, then I'm gonna be like run around the block nonstop. But I'm not doing both. Heck no, I'll quit Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'll quit on Tuesday. So I'm glad you mentioned that because that is something that if I'm not aware of, it could sneak up on me and like I'll get discouraged. It's like a hidden or invisible like expectation that I put on myself and I don't even realize I'm putting it on myself.
Yeah.
So all right. And so once y'all fill that out, you know what I'm saying, with your own, if you're not already doing it, um, next week we will come back to this and we'll take a moment to answer this and fill it out together. And kind of check in there. So, ChatGPT. So, that is that sheet. Um, Before we move to the next thing, anybody want to say anything, share anything?
I want to share. I had a heavy week, and Sunday like really transitioned me into a person that um I'm proud of because I had a big roadblock between, Mikey knows it's my mom, and yesterday, I'm just here a little bit, just it was just a lot. And I told myself if I wasn't as strong as I am now of what she said to me yesterday, I would have gave up and spiraled out. So I'm just glad to be in a space where I know I'm strong. I know I got God. I know I got, I know I have, friends who really care about me, and yeah. It
Yeah,
was a lot.
that fam. Nah, because that's big. I know your relationship with your mom is something that it's one of them heavy hitters for you and just a part of your growth right now and just something you're trying to overcome. So towards the end of the call, we'll have more time to just kind of like talk and chop it up. You feel me? So we can tap in more to
Yeah,
more.
I'm gonna wait and be patient.
Yeah, no, but for sure. I just want to acknowledge that for real, because that is a big deal. We need to talk about that. um, all right, cool. So now we about to get into a people pleasing video. So, and it's a video on people pleasing specifically for people with ADHD. So if you ain't got ADHD, then you just take what you could take, right? But if you're a little neurodivergent, be all over the place like me, you can just take from it. It's really, really helpful, and she gives some really clear and concise kind of like points, which is also in the document. So we're gonna run through this video and then we'll talk about it after a little bit and then get into some discussion. So yeah, let me pull that up. All right.
A lot of things I'm supposed to be doing that I'm definitely behind on, but hello, brains. I'm super busy right now. There are a lot of things I'm supposed to be doing that I'm definitely behind on, but that's kind of my always. ADHDers are often overwhelmed, exhausted, and behind on everything. There are a lot of reasons for this, but one of the big ones is that we tend to say yes to more than we probably should. Why? Enthusiasm, people-pleasing, impulsivity, people-pleasing, low self-esteem, my time isn't valuable, time blend, and estimate how long things actually take, and we think we have time for things we definitely do not have time for. We have a hard time prioritizing, we forget to account for things going wrong. One task actually turns out to be 10 tasks, we don't know how to say no, the new thing sounds way more exciting than the old thing, we legitimately forgot about other things that we actually committed to, so we overcommit. The problem with that is we end up overwhelmed and exhausted. The more we take on, the more we increase our workload, which is a key factor in burnout, which I talk about in this video, which means the things that are important but not urgent often don't get done until they are urgent, at which point it's often really expensive to put out the raging fire that they have become in terms of sleep, energy, money. For example, I had so much going on last year, I didn't have time to take over the title on my mom's car, which I was already driving, so I kept putting it off until I started getting tickets because the registration had expired. Now I have to pay those tickets, pay extra to expedite switching over the title, and take a lift to my studio or get Dr. B to pick me up until I get the new registration, or I will get more tickets. Honestly, every time I thought of it, I really didn't have the time or the bandwidth to do it that day or that week. But in retrospect, I probably could have made the room for it. How? By saying no to other things. Sleep.
You need to sleep.
Other than sleep. As Renee Brooks puts it, guard your yes with your life. She has a point, because even if we technically have time to do all the things, we still have limited amounts of energy and mental bandwidth to get them done. Which is why apparently most people have something called white space in their day, space built in for things to take longer than we expect or for unexpected things to land on our plate. So we want to really be selective about the things we agree to do. This is easier said than done because, hi, we have ADHD. But here are some of the most helpful things I have learned, and I'm putting in a video so that I remember and can reference the next time I am tempted to say yes to way too many things. 1. Have some way of determining what types of things we will and won't say yes to. Because our brains don't naturally prioritize well, it can be critical for our brains to externalize that decision process. 2. Buy ourselves time to decide. If we don't have to make the decision in the heat of the moment, we'll be more likely to make a decision that's in line with our goals, values, and priorities, and the time and energy we actually have. And 3. Say no when it makes sense to say no. This can be hard for us, but there are some ways to make it easier, I promise. So how do we determine what kinds of things we will say yes to? In advance. ADHD brains tend to have trouble effectively prioritizing in the moment because the executive function system we use in the heat of the moment, the hot executive function system, that's impaired, but our cool executive function system, the one we use when we're not in the heat of the moment, actually works pretty well. So we can prepare our list of priorities in advance and then keep them somewhere where we can see them so we don't forget what they are. We can even have a list of anti-priorities, things that we're deliberately not going to say yes to today or this month or this year. The goal here is to reduce the odds that our ADHD brains will decide for us solely based on what feels urgent and or exciting. We can get help with prioritizing too. ADHD coaches, accountability buddies, teammates, you can even ask your boss, can you help me prioritize? We can also start paying attention to where our boundaries and limits are. For example, I've noticed I can only handle about an hour of admin work a day before my brain nopes out. If you're not sure where your boundaries are, one way to figure it out is to notice when you start hitting your limit in terms of energy, patience, or effectiveness. Personally, I've noticed I can only be effective with 3 priorities at a time. Any more than that, and I get overwhelmed and I start avoiding all of them. In the moment, when you're asked, hey, do you want to do this super fun, important, exciting thing? We don't usually actually have to decide right away. We might need to respond right away, but we can do so with something called enthusiastic non-committal. If something sounds exciting and fun, we can say, wow, that sounds really great, without actually saying yes. Non-committal is just that, not committing one way or another. We can ask questions like, what does this super fun, exciting, important thing entail? To get more information, or say, I need to run this by my team, or let me check my schedule. I am pointing this out because I genuinely used to think you had to say yes or no right away, but in most cases, we actually don't. If we do have to make a decision as to whether or not to commit to something on the spot, there's a super fast trick I like that still gives us a little pause to think, which is to ask yourself, would I do this tomorrow? The theory behind it is if you say yes, you either have enough free time that you could, in which case you'll probably have enough free time in the future too, or it's important enough that you would cancel stuff for it. This technique avoids the now or not now thing of, well, I don't have time for this now, but this project is not now, so yeah, I'll have time for it then. No, you won't. That's future me's problem. Future you is still you, and not now is just future now. The point is, sometimes we will have to say no. This will definitely be the hardest part for some of us. But there are ways to make it easier. One is to remind ourselves that we're not the only person who can do this thing, whatever it is. Let yourself feel infinitesimal. While everyone's skill set is unique, there's at least someone who can do some of the things you can do. Also, a no doesn't have to be negative. You can be supportive without agreeing to participate. Just because it's a good idea doesn't mean it's a good idea right now, or that it's a good fit for you. For example, you can say, that sounds really exciting, but I'm not available that week. You may have to repeat your no if someone tries to push you into agreeing, in which case a helpful trick is, instead of justifying or explaining your no, just repeat it. Well, but I think it's really important. I think it'll be worth it for you to be there. I'm not available that week. If we don't over-explain, they can't disagree with our explanation. Explaining our reasoning gives them a chance to argue with our reasoning. Also, Jessica, in the future, who's watching this video probably, avoid consolation commitments. I'm not available that week, but hey, next time I'll help you plan the whole event. Yeah, we don't owe someone a consolation prize just because we can't give them a yes. It's okay for them to be disappointed. Can we get that on a t-shirt? Full disclaimer, people don't usually like being told no, so they might be upset to receive a no, regardless of how supportive we are, especially if they're used to us saying yes. That's okay. If they're upset, they might not understand boundaries yet, and modeling healthy boundaries can help them realize it's okay for them to have them too. It can also make people feel safe to know where our boundaries actually are, and that they can feel comfortable asking for things because they know that they aren't asking too much if we say yes, because otherwise, we would have said no. Saying no isn't fun. There are so many exciting and important things in the world, but contrary to what our brains may tell us in the moment, we cannot actually do all the things. So we have to be selective in the things that we do say yes to, so we have the time to do the things that are important to us, like taking care of our doggos or maintaining a regular meditation or exercise schedule, and the things that are required of us, like car registration. Again, before we're asked, we can determine what types of things we will and won't say yes to. When we're asked, we can buy ourselves time to decide. And when it makes sense to, we can say no.
This video is sponsored by Fabulous, which helps us.
All right. That was a brain and mouthful. Okay. Any initial thoughts or comments from the video?
Yeah. So, um, although in the beginning she prefaces it as that being something that neurodivergent folks deal with. I think like the reminders and like the techniques and the tools to um, kind of like give yourself space between the yes or the no is universal. I know like for me in business, when you connect with somebody and if they like, oh yeah, I love what you're doing, let's collaborate, let's do this, let's do that. Like a lot of times the initial idea, even if we don't even have a plan yet, it's like, yeah, we should collab, we should do this, rather than giving that space in between to kind of like think about, all right, well, what is my purpose? What is my mission? What is my vision? And if we were to collaborate, is that going to be in alignment with what I am setting out to do? And a lot of times, I know for me in the past, I haven't done that. And now I'm in a space where I am creating space where I'm like, okay, is this in alignment? If it's not, it's immediately no. And so that gives me a chance to know what I'm going to say no to ahead of time rather than getting to the moment and then feeling the pressure to say yes. So I appreciated that, that mindset. Like just the thoughts and like the tools between how to decide like, okay, is this a yes or is this a no? I appreciated that.
Wow. The way that you just put that in that way. Wow. And you actually helped me as well by saying tools, because it's an ADHD channel that I've just been learning and I've been coming up on some gems. But what you just helped me to realize is that everybody has the same problems or certain strengths and weaknesses depending on who you are. But the reason why, the thing that gives us access to that are different entryways. So maybe someone with a neurodivergent brain, it may happen because of the capacity thing, like, and that's the thing that we need to focus on to improve. Someone else who may not be neurodivergent, something like that, may still have this issue or challenge or obstacle, but they need to go, they have a different obstacle course, right? So if I go over here to this person and try to learn the way that they talking, but I'm built different, it may not work. And so I've been trying to like put a pin on that. And so you just helped that epiphany like come through for me. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, I got all those points in the document. We'll walk through that in a moment. Does anybody else want to say anything before we walk through that real quick?
Real quick, I was just gonna say I'm going through that and have been going through the no's and the boundaries like my whole entire life, and right now I'm going through it with this woman who I have to really choose my no's. You know, it helped when she said to be able to just say no and don't explain your no, because once you explain your no, there is a chance for you. Well, why don't you? Why can't you? Well, you ain't doing nothing. And I just got talked into a Dave East concert all the way in Santa Ana, and I just don't want to go. but but she talked me into so much, and I just I can't even say maybe. Her maybe is a yes. So I really need help with that help help button.
She said the help button. No, I wanted to kind of touch on that, because a lot of times what happens when we explain no's, like, people have a way of finding those loopholes to get the yes, because if you explain, now they're able to kind of look through and be like, okay, well, if I could solve that problem, then it'll be a yes. But if it's an absolute no, then it's an absolute no, you know. And so I feel like in the video what she's saying is make it an absolute no, and not a no, like, it's like not a no, it's only a no because of this problem. Like, if we say, nah, I can't go because I gotta babysit my sister. Okay, well, I know somebody that does babysitting, and we can leave them with them, and then now we can go to this concert together. Now I solved your problem, so now it's not a no more. So when you're in that position of, you know, explaining the no, you give them more ammunition to find the yes. Like, they're literally searching for the yes in your no. And so when it's an absolute no, it's like, I can't come back with it. Like, nah, I'm not interested. Or no, I can't make it. Like, now there's no ammunition for them to find. So I like that example because it helps me kind of process through that, you know, through making that no absolute.
And also to add a piece of compassion, because one thing I want to say, and I'll circle back to it, is I'm my own problem, right? So I don't know if I want to please people more than I want to please myself, like, or please my inner child, or like the need to do something. And my mom used to tell me about it when I was little, and today I realized, oh, it's ADHD. I didn't realize that. And I think that sometimes when people violate our boundaries, or people push back or resist our boundaries, we look at them kind of like as opposite, or, you know, like not as an op, but like they're the problem. And I think that in relationships, we're hardwired to do, I feel like, two things: to get our needs met and to like solve problems for the people around us. So if you have a relationship with somebody and you're telling them like, you know, I really would like to go, but I can't go for this reason. Like, if I'm in a relationship with you, I want to solve that problem for you. But there's also an opportunity to have conversations with people, right? So I said in the chat, like, Mikey always is, and I don't know if it's that way for everybody, but I feel like it is. But Mikey is always very clear about what she can and cannot do. And we've had conversations about it. And before we connected, or before we met, I was already working on boundaries. So I was like, I understood what it looked like, even when it got uncomfortable. So it's like, you don't have to apologize and all of that, right? But for people who don't have those relationships, right? I have people in my life who don't, like, who've never really done that work. I think having a conversation with them about, hey, I'm at this place in my life. I spent my life people pleasing, and I would like to start focusing more on these things, right? And so I can't really separate outside of that. And literally, like for the people that are in your circle, just preface that. Like, I'm gonna start saying no to some things because it just doesn't align with me, right? Or whatever the timing is, or whatever. It's not even that it doesn't align with me. Right now, this is what Mikey's saying, I'm locked in, right? Right now I'm locked in, right? And that could be just the conversation so they understand where you're at in your life right now. So when you do say no, it won't feel so jarring for them. That's the piece that I would say. So it's not like just totally, because if you shift from always doing a thing to not doing that thing, that could be read, especially with different people's attachment types, it could be misread as something different. So I feel like just having a conversation about the transition would be helpful.
And a real last question I just thought of that y'all maybe can answer. And this is I wish I was a high question, but does does an element of people pleasing what is an element of people pleasing parallel to being naive? Meaning, like, if you if I say yes to something because I don't want this person to be disappointed, because of the results of them me saying no, and now I'm it's the result of them being disappointed in my no. Does that make me like naive?
I wouldn't say for that
I
piece.
hope that's make
I wouldn't say that it makes you naive. It just makes you like, it's almost like it feels like external validation. Like you're feeling like you can't take care of yourself. If you take care of yourself, you lose the connection with that person. That's what that feels like to me. I think that there is some naivety in like accepting so many tasks and hoping that you'll be able to do them, but not being able to, like, not realizing what your capacity is, not understanding what it is. So maybe like, I literally did it to myself this morning. I know that I have this problem and I keep doing it. Like, I went through therapy about it, read this book by Jim Quick. He said 3 items a day, right? 3 personal items, 3 career items. And my ass is over here with 12 items. Then I add 3 more because something else popped up, right? And then when I can't finish them, then I look at myself like I'm not doing enough, right? So there's this battle, and I feel like I still have a little naivety around what I'm capable of doing, but I wouldn't really say that naivety would be in like somebody being disappointed in me. That's more of like a fear of rejection to me, like a fear of abandonment, a fear of rejection. Like, you won't be here if I say no. Which I think that conversation that you would have with them as you're transitioning into like taking up more space for yourself would be helpful, so they know, like, listen, I'm trying to maintain this connection with you, but I need some space for me right now, whatever that looks like. Was that helpful? Or do you
Yeah, it
like?
was because it's definitely been a pressure point and a pain point for me. This that's I appreciate that.
And if it don't feel like that for you, because that's from my experience, right? And if you start to unpack it a little bit more for yourself and you realize something different for yourself, that's, that works too.
Yeah, absolutely. I just hopped on ChatGPT real quick and got those definitions. Where it says naivety implies lack of experience, awareness, or understanding of others' intentions, like believing everyone has a good motive. I think that um like for sure that's me. You know what I'm saying? Like some aspects of it, just for me knowing you, Rachel, I would say that there are some aspects of naivety there. But what that really is like a sense of purity and like an innocence, and a certain perspective of people, right? Or like it says, a lack of experience. A lack of experience ain't so much like you just ain't did enough or like something on your end. It's like maybe live a little longer. You got some experience in some other areas, right? But we all have areas in our life that we may not have traveled much in those areas. And so I know for me, the more experience, the more hurt, and the more knowledge that I got, Like there was just certain things that I just didn't understand that this connected to this. Once I got that, like us even watching this video, oh, discipline connects to this, just basic knowledge. It's like, oh, okay, like now I can do this and I do that. I can actually calculate in certain situations. And so, but we also as well deal with a lot of these people pleasing things. You know what I'm saying? And so the way that you explained it, Yanni, is like perfect, like to separate those two, to be able to identify in those moments. Is this just a like awareness thing or is this a people pleasing thing? Because a lot of the times we just don't trust ourselves. We are aware. You know what I'm saying? We do have the knowledge. We know but we don't want to believe that somebody would do us like that. We don't want to believe it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, nah, something must be wrong with me. Or, like if everybody, but you like, nah, they were foul. But it's like, I don't have nobody else to cling to. So we may do our own subconscious kind of like dance or whatnot, um, that kind of make us naive or allow us to kind of act like that. Because if we were, like, if we acknowledge stuff like how it is, like how it really was, we know that we would shift. So I like to speak for myself that I'll just make up another story in my head about a situation so that I don't shift because I'm going to, if I know, I'm going to move, like I'm gonna do it. So I have to come up with but they, ooh, and it, whether it's verbal or just in my brain, or not. So, I just wanted to share that. That was a really great question, a freaking phenomenal question, Rachel. And I think someone else may want to say something, Rachel or whomever. No? Interrupt me if so. Um, wow, that was beautiful. I'm a kind of look through this document real quick. I need to stop saying real quick. Oh, so as I'm pulling the document up, in those moments of saying no, like a huge part of being able to overcome this is breath work and meditation or whatever, some type of mindfulness practice. I'm not sure if it is, if there's a suggestion of that here, but I'll add it to it or something, yeah, add something to that, or maybe you can just add it to your notes. So here, so this link here is to the video of the people pleasing one we just watched. What are your personal slow down, clarity on your yes and no? What are your personal priorities and non-priorities right now? Use this space to create a list to help you quickly recognize what to say yes or no to this week. So you can just think about it in your brain and come back to it later, or you can start jotting some things down now. But if, yeah, just some things off top that not how you're going to say no, but what it is that you like. That's something I can't do right now. I can't handle this. I don't have space for this in my life right now. Those can go here. And it may be easier to start with your priorities, the things that you do want to make space for. And if someone is in that vicinity, then it works. So for example, like with Yanni, man, woo, you be having me practicing like a mug. It be hard. She be inviting me to stuff and I'll be like, dang, I can't. I want to though. I want to so bad. But then the way my body been set up, it's like I physically don't have the energy. And so that has been like a marker for me is like, how does my body feel when I think about that? Like, do I feel like, oh, I'm going to be exhausted? I will like use that as a marker, you know? And so for me, my priority right now is rest and energy and creating more space for myself. And so, um, yeah, if I know I'm gonna be physically tired, like I'm probably gonna say no, right? Unless it's in a priority, you know, like exercising or, you know, picking up my kid. Like it don't matter if I'm tired. um,
Can I
I
add
think the best one,
the best one?
I was gonna say, I think the best line that Mikey be saying is when we're at the on Thursdays, it's past my bedtime. I think that's the best joke of the night. He's like, y'all, it's past my bedtime, but I'm here with y'all.
yes, and my kid, of course. That's one. But no, for real, that past my that's a good one. And that's a priority. That's good. Y'all put that. That means y'all gotta have a bedtime. Oh, that's a non-negotiable. Unless it's a non-negotiable. Like, wow. No, wait. I gotta write that down. Anything past my bedtime. My priority is my bad time. My bed priority is my bedtime. What's not a priority is anything that is past my bedtime. Oh, go ahead, Yanni.
I was gonna say, or I am going to say that as I started to do, so I was introduced to embodiment, aka somatic practices and breathing and like how to identify stress in the body. And I noticed that like where my stress shows up, and sometimes like it often shows up in my chest, right? And so anytime I get uncomfortable with things, like my chest starts to tighten up and like I just notice certain areas in my body where it lives. And sometimes I will envision myself doing a task that like may be causing me stress. Um, or like it may be like the thought of doing the thing causes me stress. And I have to examine whether it's me trying to run from like, because I hate like performances and stuff like that. I've avoided like microphones and stages and things like that. But if it's something else that like you're asking me to do something and it's causing stress in my body and the thought of not doing it relaxes me, I will choose to do that. So I'll say to myself, my prompt is like, what do I want? And like, what does that feel like? What feels good, you know? And sometimes I'm like, okay, here are my options. And as I go through the options, I'm like, as I'm like, my body responds to it. And whichever one like relaxes me, whichever one I have the least resistance to is usually the one I take. But that's only a practice of like when I'm trying to juggle too many things. It's not like I also have to be cognizant that I'm avoidant when it comes to certain opportunities, and I will turn opportunities down because they make me uncomfortable. So there's a fine line there for me. So I thought it was important, Mikey, that you said, is this gonna make me tired? Like, yeah, that's a gauge for me too. Like how much energy is this gonna take? What type of like how do I feel after I engage with this person or this organization? Do they align with my values? Like all of that, that's important. Cause fuck that. I know we recording my bad.
No, that's perfect, actually. That's the perfect sign off. Fuck that. But no, oh my goodness. You said a sign off your body. Oh, right. Because if it is not, unless speaking engagements, that thing that like, oh, I'm trying to overcome, unless that is a focus, that is a priority right now, it's okay if you retreat from that space because you speaking and being on microphones right now is not a focus. You know, even though that is an area that you do want to overcome at a point in time, we don't have to try to engage and overcome everything at once, you know? And so, yeah, is me speaking or going to this thing going to make me tired? And it's not even a part of my like goals right now. So why am I going over there doing that, right? But if it's something that's within your priorities and it makes you tired, then it's like, okay, well, let me weigh this out because it isn't my priority. Like, let me go and push myself past this limit, even though I may retreat and be afraid. So I think that's a perfect example of the two, of like if it's a priority, if it's not. So
I saw that, Yanni. But my stress, it's that's good she said that, because my stressor is my shoulders and my face, where I can see my stress. And I came up with it's like an epiphany. It's like they all this weight on my shoulders, and I literally get knots, like knots on my shoulder from this carrying so much baggage. And so, a lot of it too is from carrying so much of my backpack too, like the physical aspect, but the mental aspect is like I like to keep a full plate, but I burned out before, and I'm that's something I want to definitely avoid. And then as far as my face, it's a physical would be my hair's dirty, so I'm breaking out. But a mental would be, it's so much stress, and I use my face a lot to make non-verbals. So yeah, thank you for that, Yanni. So
yeah, I'm glad y'all brought up stress. And Yanni, you're the one that introduced me at Shoshana's wedding. You told me about the body keeps the score. So everybody, how I'm like, oh, the body keeps the score, and Trump man, and just me on this whole thing. Because in the first page of the body keeps the score, it talks about neuroscience and the new field that medical industry that is, new research is coming out. And so tapping into that is actually what got me on here watching these YouTube videos. So like Yanni is the one that introduced it to me. So but on that first page it talks about that it gets
I am
deep.
today years old. That's
But
dope. And I just want to highlight, because I've been calculating all the little synchronicities today. And today's a full moon in Scorpio. And today on Libby, the Body Keeps the Score, the audiobook popped up on my timeline, because I never finished the book, right? And I was reading a chakra workbook that talked about like the same things that was being read, like the exact place. I was reading an actual chakra workbook, and they were talking about the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic y'all forgive me. And then in the chakra workbook, they were talking about how that is what connects the sympathetic nerve, the SNS and the PNS. That's what we're gonna call them. Those are the things that weave the 7 chakras together. And so there were so many pieces of alignment, and it just popped up today. And then you mentioned it today, and I did not know that about. But y'all know I got a book recommendation for everything. But that's dope, and thank you for sharing.
yeah, that's beautiful. I've really been trying to lock in that thing. I listen to a parasympathetic Tibetan sound bath music when I go to sleep or when I'm just chilling. So yeah, that book, I mean, even if you just gotta go over a certain chapter, Eric Thomas, he said, I'd rather you read one page 100 times than 100 pages one time. So even if you haven't finished it yet, because I still haven't finished it, but there's certain parts where I'm like, oh, this is good for this season in my life. And I'll like hang out in that chapter and stuff like that too. So, but to the stress point, in the beginning of that video, they talked about the stress experiment with the rats, right? And they mentioned that, the test between voluntary running or voluntary exercise and involuntary exercise. And so the voluntary exercise actually was beneficial, and a lot of the health benefits that you get from running they were able to receive, including your healthy glucose levels. And then for the one that whenever they wanted to run they hopped on, but it made the other one have to involuntarily run. Even though they were running, they did not receive the same health benefits that the one who was voluntarily running did. And so that speaks to stress, and speaks to, being pushed, right? And so there's that balance of like, okay, I need to be able to do hard things, right? But like do one more. Like Rachel, it's interesting. You said go the extra mile. I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's why we stressed out. A mile is a lot. Go an extra, couple feet. You know what I'm saying? Like push yourself just a little bit. Um, and so yeah, so and just talking about how that stress is now lodging in the body and things like that. So just being mindful of that, like, okay, I need to make sure that my priorities and my goals are healthy. It's something that I want to do. In the book Finish by John Acuff, he mentions a way to finish your goals is to make it fun if you want it done. So it don't gotta be, oh, let me do this hard. I gotta like, nah, like the best way that we learn is a song or in play, right? That's how we teach kids and study and stuff like that is they're playing. And that's how we learn the best. So, so yeah, being mindful of those stressors and where they're at in your body and seeing, okay, how can I reduce this? Find what are your priorities? And it's things that you want to do and find a fun way to um run or whatever, right? The micro sucks.
Yeah,
um
Mikey, that's something I was thinking. Hi, y'all. That's something I was thinking when you said, like, I don't want to run. I'm like, that's cardio. And cardio is also dancing. So if you found a video that like you can dance to, you'll still be getting your cardio in.
Absolutely. And I am definitely going to join the why, right? I love that. I love that. But this in particular, so like my cardio is until I can get there, right? Like you said, like doing a video, things like that. But me being intentional about a micro suck, I don't want to run. And at the end of the day, I still need to make sure that I'm running because running, maybe I should put that in the thing. Like it's good for survival. Like I have to run. I have to run. So it's only, like I said, I'm not doing a mile. I'm not doing a running class. I'm gonna run my butt around this block and that's it. I'm done. That's it. And my AMCC and mid singular cortex, whatever, will grow and it will increase my, and then I'll go to the dance class. But if I just go to the dance class, I love that shit. That part of my brain not gonna grow. But my cardiovascular will do well. So maybe I need to switch that because if the point is for cardiovascular, yeah, I might dip out of the running and just find a fun way to do it. So yeah, I'm glad that came up because that is something to be mindful of is to stick to a goal and for maintenance and for consistency and to complete something that you want to make fun, but to improve your discipline, to be able to make the decision to do that, having that micro suck thing. I don't like saying the word suck. I'm very gay. Um, well, I mean, there's a lot of gay things you could do that too. But anyways, finding activities to do to strengthen that part, but not making it a long dragged out thing. To where discouragement can happen. We just want discipline and, a hard push, not a whole mile. I said a lot there.
I
I hope that
wanted to, and Rachel, I had just put in there something that aligned with what you just said, and I didn't see the last comment. Feeling okay. One thing, I hate working out. Okay, no, not anymore. But I used to really despise it. I hated athletics growing up. I chose art. And that was intentional because fuck that. Um, but now, like during the pandemic, something happened and I was like, okay, I just want to be more active. And then I noticed that after like I would run or uh, sprint in my neighborhood, do fast paced walking, whatever, split between the two, that I would feel like a euphoria afterwards. And I didn't know what it was, but did some research, a little bit of digging. And it releases hormones, happy chemicals, right? And so that literally for about 5 years when I would work out, I was literally just working out for the happy chemicals. Like I just want to feel, I really only want the feeling that I feel after I come out the gym. That's what I'm going for. You know what I mean? And so maybe that could be helpful. And because now I'm at a place where I'm like, I actually enjoyed like kind of pushing myself through it and all of those different things. And now I add to the workout. So that might be helpful. And I just dropped exactly which ones they release. And then Rachel said completion, like those are little dopamine hacks that you could do with checklists and all of that.
That's beautiful. That's like, I think that build discipline. What is the reward?
That I can little piggyback off of that. What basketball, is my first love, and then I chose arts, not knowing that I could do both, and I didn't like running. Still don't now. Now I feel now I can't. At the moment, God gonna make a way for my legs to work again. But I regret not, feeling grateful for that I could run. But things happen, and I know that things will get better. Thank you for sharing, Yanni.
Yeah, you could turn that into a positive, because guess what? You still have the opportunity. You might have some more different obstacles, but yeah, you here. So you still got a chance. Still got a chance to do that.
For sure.
Because even if your legs cut off, it's niggas running with no legs. So
I'll be out here tinking.
A little tink. Hey, we should grow up.
On cue, never. Never. Okay, so I'm gonna take the last few minutes for Rachel to share more about what you shared earlier. So the second point in the people pleasing was after getting clarity on your yes and no beforehand. Beforehand, right? You're probably still gonna forget, but it's okay. Like you have to repetition to remember to go back to it. Sticky notes, whatever. Especially make note if you say yes to something that you know you shouldn't have or that was not on that priority list. You cannot get mad at yourself. You cannot. You need to be happy and excited that you recognized it, that you were able to identify, I did that again. That is beautiful because the more that you can remember that you did that thing again and see, you'll be able to anticipate it. That's with anything, with driving, with a sport, with whatever it is. You're like, oh, that happened. You have to go through it a couple of times and then you remember the pattern. So please do not be upset with yourself. If you recognize it, that's a win. All right. So that's the first step, is to be aware. Second, buy yourself time. When someone asks for something this week, how can you pause instead of reacting immediately, right? Write out a phrase or a plan you'll use to create space for before deciding. Example phrase, that sounds interesting. Can I get back to you tomorrow after I check my schedule? All right, so depending on what that thing is, go ahead and put that down, whatever it is that you want to focus on, or you can just do a template of it. So yeah, just have that prepared. And even me, I give myself grace where I'll give myself permission to go back on what I said as long as I'm still in the conversation. Because a lot of the times we realize later, like, fuck, I said yes and I shouldn't have. And then now we don't want to go back. Now we're fighting our pride, right? And fighting our ego. And we won't now go correct, because of our ego. Now, so but it's just a real thing. And it's just our word, right? We're also trying to keep our word. So anyways, if I'm still on the call or in that thing, I'll be like, you know what? Actually, my bad. I know I said I was gonna do that, but now that I'm thinking about it, let me actually put a pin on that, or let me actually get back to you later. Like, or if it's between a certain time frame, it might have been a text, before too much time go by, I try to immediately be like, you know what, actually, this actually won't work. Give me until this time. Like if I didn't already press in, I'll go back, but I can't linger on it and be like, I can do it. Can I? Maybe I can't. No, let me just go back and correct it now, because the more space that I give it, I'm gonna be like, fuck it, I done said it. I can't go back, you know. So consider that here in this space. Um Now number
That's
three.
crazy. Wait. So is that task on Rachel? Because I'm trying to figure out how I'll sign in twice, and I saw somebody clap on Rachel.
That's
What's
not you,
going on?
nigga.
No, nigga.
I'm, I don't know if does my name say Rachel? Because this is
Taz,
Taz.
I'm
yes. I
crying.
thought that was you, Rachel. I was like, could you
Yeah,
go
I'm like, yeah,
on
I'm like, how
that?
am I thought I logged out.
Taz, what the heck, fam? I'm
My
glad
name
it's you.
my name says Rachel up here.
It says Rachel Cross.
I
Huh.
see Rachel
Yeah,
Cross like in the
that's
picture. I don't
wild.
see that under my name.
Yeah, it's showing up
Okay.
like that for me. I'm glad that's you.
Cause
Woo.
I sent the link. Yeah,
We'll
yeah, I sent the
figure.
link.
Oh,
That's
okay.
probably cool.
Okay. We'll
Yeah,
figure it out
it
later.
wasn't working. I couldn't get in. But I wanted to say something that like that was real. Like I love how you worded what you said about the people pleasing, about keeping our word. I was just thinking how easy it is to show up for everybody, but not for ourselves. But like the grace that we give ourselves for breaking our word to ourselves, but we don't have none for nobody else. Because I know I'm guilty. I'll be like, word is bond. Like if I said it, I'm standing on business. But if I say I'm gonna go to the gym, and then I don't go to the gym, I don't even treat myself with that same type of energy. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't hold myself to that same pressure of accountability. With all the things that I'm doing. And I think sometimes we can get excited and overzealous, but I like what you said about correcting yourself in real time instead of doing it later. Like you might meet somebody and be like, "Yo, if you come to LA, you can come stay at my crib." I didn't said that shit. I'm like, fuck did I say that? Like I shouldn't have said that. Like, and then you feel like you gotta stand on it. And there's some people that will, for their convenience, try to hold you to it. You said you was gonna do it. And you ain't gonna keep your word, and they try to guilt trip you. And now you feel like, damn, like because their codependency on needing you to keep your word is there. So it's just like, kind of be slow to speak. You got two ears and one mouth for a reason. Like, I know I can sometimes, my intentions could be like, oh, I want to help you so bad. And then there's been times where I've like given somebody a ride home, or then it turns into entitlement or expectations. But like you're right, people have the right to change their mind. Like, and I think that we gotta like look at it better, like look at it in a way that we just changing our mind, not that we're like going back on our word. Like it's okay. You might feel like, yo, like I wanted to go here today, but my spirit say don't go. Like it's okay. I think we gotta find a different way to celebrate changing your mind and not making it seem like it's not, because it's the fine line between changing your mind and keeping your word. And you know what I'm saying? Having that discernment to wait. So yeah, I think that shit was fire. And my bad for being Rachel. I wasn't trying to be you. I don't know.
Nah, you
It's
all
Taz though.
good, Taz. You all good.
Word. But yeah, like I think we gotta find a way to be nicer to ourselves and have grace when we want to change our minds, because and it goes for life. Like you might wake up one day and be like, I don't want to be with this person no more. Like, damn, am I supposed to stay with you? You know what I'm saying? Or do I have the right to change my mind? And then we start to give like parameters for where we can and can't do that at. Like loyalty breeds royalty. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you feel like, oh, I gotta rock with you through sickness and through health because of what vows and because of all this shit that we make up. But like there's some people that wake up and be like, I'm gonna be vegan. I'm gonna stop being vegan. I'm gonna be Muslim, I'm gonna be Christian, I'm gonna be gay, or I'm gonna get divorced, or I'm gonna get married. And it's just like at the end of the day, you can't possess people, you can't control people, you can only experience them. So like, I think it's a very fine line between loyalty, keeping your word, and changing your mind. You gotta redefine that. like what that looks like, because it can get convoluted, you know. But making me think, for real.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what saved my life and my mental health when and then Yanni, you can go ahead. And me shifting into the person I am now is I didn't think I could change my mind, you know? And so you can come in. Um, thank you. Appreciate you. Oh, I don't need no juice. I'll be jumping off these walls. Thank
Okay.
you. Um, but yeah, just being free to change your mind. Actually, somebody had sung a song at an open mic I was at, and he was like, it's okay to change your mind. And that changed my life. Um, and that is the whole point. That's the basic version of healing, right? What we're talking about is changing neural pathways. Like we're literally changing our mind, right? With the work that we're talking about doing with breath work. Every time a situation come up and we take a deep breath, we're changing our mind and all the way to the molecular structure of it. We're not just saying it. We're not just saying like, no, we're actually changing the makeup of our brain. So it is
You know what,
at that
you
space.
know, to add to what you're saying, I think it's crazy, like to even break down changing your mind. Like, you know, for example, when you wake up every day, they'll say you should renew your mind, right? So you may wake up in the morning and be like, I had a fucked up day yesterday. Today I changed my mind. I'm gonna have a great day. I'm gonna have a positive day. We wake up and we give ourselves permission to change our minds to start our days. But midway through the day, we might change our mind and just be like, yo, fuck this job. You know what I'm saying? Yo, fuck this. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. So I think that in the same ways that we condition our minds to change our minds to change our lives, sometimes changing your mind might just be the change you gotta make. And it might just be like, I can't hang with these friends or whatever. And as it's making me like, I guess right now, I feel like I'm healing. So for anybody that's changed their mind, you know, like I might change my mind and feel like, you know, I don't want to hang with this person anymore, and you might be that person that the person that's got changed about. Or so it may not always be your choice to change. It might be somebody changing about you. So in the same way that you have the grace and space to go change my mind, this is what it is, and this is what it is. You know, now I'm going to stick with this new ideology. Like, you know, like it's just I think we gotta look at it from both perspectives. Like we can't be so like okay with us changing our minds, but not giving nobody else the idea to change theirs. And I think that sometimes it can, like we might be hypocritical. Like we gotta really see like, do I want somebody to if I decided to change my mind today, would I want support? And we gotta give people that same support too, whether it's for our support or not. You know, it might be somebody that like, it might not benefit you, but hey, you changing it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna support it, you know. So I don't know. I ain't never think about this shit like this though. Great point. You busting something
So,
good down over there too.
and listen, look, I'm grateful.
Hell yeah.
Um, so okay. Oh, not this one. I'm doing the notes you told me, Taz, checking the log of the points.
Oh,
Uh,
word. Okay, come on, gang. Proud of you. Let's go. Productivity. Last meeting was great. Sorry I'm late, y'all. Better great than never.
oh, good. Hey, I like that. Um, so okay, buying ourselves time, right? That's a dope, I guess, plug right there. Like it's okay to change your mind, as a way to, yeah, create space, for yourself. And so number three is to build the strength to say no. At the end of the day, this is a micro suck right here. Is at the end of the day, we just gotta say no. Taz, we're talking about the part of the brain that grows when you do something that you don't like to do. Not something that's just hard to do. Because you might like doing hard things or certain things that are hard that challenge you. You get a kick out of it. But this is the thing that you are really trying to avoid. And you like, I do not want to do that. That actually builds and strengthens the part of the brain that um seems to be a part of like your will to live. And so here being overcomers, right? Overcoming people pleasing and just trying to overcome these obstacles to get to our goals. We were kind of talking about that part of the brain. And so Um, and so what he calls it is a thing that can help that part of the brain grow is like a micro or a macro suck, right? It's that one thing where you like, I'm really gonna push that off. Like it could be taking out the trash. It could be like whatever you say, I'll do that tomorrow. I don't feel like dealing with that right now. If you do it in that moment, that is the type of hard that builds that part of the brain. And so for me, just in general, saying no is a micro suck in itself. Like without an explanation, without explaining myself. Um, Here it says, what emotions or body signals help you notice when a boundary is being crossed? Frustration, overwhelm, etc. How can you practice saying no without over explaining or offering a consolation commitment? Right. And that consolation commitment, if you don't remember, is saying no, but then giving them something after it. No, I can't do this, but I can next time. When you say next time, I'll do this for you. Right? Like they don't nobody need a prize or a consolation for them asking you something like, just because you said no. And a lot of times that's the spill that comes out. Cause I'm like, I can't just say no. It's uncomfortable, right? To just say no. So taking a moment to sit in that discomfort after saying no is you actively participating in a micro suck that is actually making you stronger. Okay? It's actually increasing your will, that part of your brain that people who live the longest have. Go ahead, Rachel.
I was gonna say like
And Taz, you
the
want to go
other
say something?
the other side of that no, like being told no, I think it hurts because especially if, you know, that person, even if maybe okay, I'll put it in a relationship sense. If it's that no, and I don't have another plan B, I don't have another person to ask, because I was so gung ho, I was so excited for this person that I'm asking to go or to do this thing, you know, thinking that they're gonna say yes. So what I'm trying to ask is like, how would you how would you bring that back into the person that you're being told no to? Like how would you react to that someone else saying telling you no?
Yeah, well, when people tell me no, I show support. I offer support to look for the letdown, and I don't know if that's just different for me, but it's like if I know that I'm asking anybody anything, like, hey, man, I tried my best not to have to ask. Um, but like, let's say I'm like, hey, like, if you get a chance, I need to get my oil changed. Would you be able to follow me to CarMax so I could drop my car off? And but if you can't, it's cool. Please feel free to say no. Like I'm not gonna trip. Like I don't know. Like don't feel pressure if you got stuff to do. So for me, I know how hard it is for people to say no. So anything that I ask, like some people like, nah, you like sometimes I guess I give too much of a disclaimer, but I let that be known because I want my friends to feel comfortable or my family. So like, and I remember my mom, she never wants to say no. And I've told her so many times, and it was one time when she said it, and I'm like, it's okay, like it's cool, like don't trip. Where some people might guilt trip you or feel this type of way, or be like, oh, can I borrow $20? Oh, you ain't got it. Bye. Like what I'm saying. So like, I feel like when you can take the no from somebody, it's like the Beyonce song. The first time I said no, it's like I never said yes. Can you handle someone's no? If you can't handle my no, you don't deserve my yes. I think there's gonna be times where I can't do certain things, and I think that sometimes I think it's even best to put people to the test. Like, hey, I'm gonna do something and just say no to see how you react. Because like, let's wait for something like massive to happen, and then you say no, and y'all have a falling out. Sometimes you got to just test it out, to see how people are gonna respond. So me, I respond with being told no. um I don't put myself in a position where I have to be told no a lot. I think I don't ask for forgiveness or permission. I just, ask for forgiveness. So I try to put myself in situations that don't require it. But it could be no for a job application. It could be no, what I'm saying? Like, I sure you won't give me your number, like I don't know. I feel like no is just like me just hurrying up and getting past an opportunity to get to another yes. Like I don't wait. Like so it could be like somebody could be like, no, you didn't get a job. I'm really on to the next. I don't let one no stop me. If I can't get that yes, I'm not gonna persist there. I'll find another way. So I feel like there's another way to get a yes. Maybe it might not be that person, maybe it might not be that door, like and sometimes it just might that no might be for you. I always say redirections, God's protection. Sometimes that no is stopping you from, you know, uh something that may have not been to your benefit. So it's two ways to look at it. That no could have been your yes, depending on how you're looking at it, you know.
No, thank you for that. No,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Real quick, that last piece that you just said, Taz, kind of goes back to the last video we watched last week, Rachel, and it was the quote that you liked, which was with sales, because this is all sales, right? The tech sales training helped me to deal with rejection and this thing in just regular life. But when he says, tell me yes, tell me no, tell me now, gotta go, right? I gotta go. And so Taz kind of explaining like
Word.
giving people the opportunity to say no. In that offer statement, it is tell me yes, tell me no. Tell me now, gotta go, right? That goes back to the first agreement. Don't take anything personal. And so that is something that is what helped me to embrace rejection. Is to one, understand that I have an anxious attachment style, and that's cannot be healthy sometimes. So I have to learn to, if I am uncomfortable because I am not connected to something, someone, or like attached to a idea, thought, or a way a situation should have gone, this is an opportunity for me to practice that unhealthiness. So let me sit down, let me actually look at it. And then two, um, yeah, not taking anything personally. Like, especially like I know it's just some situations in your case where it's like, yo, it's just irresponsibility, right? Someone saying, hey, let's do this, whoop, whoop. And then last minute, that's someone mishandling you and not appreciating your time and all of that. That's different. A way for you to handle that is to remove from those type of situations. You feel me? But outside of that, if it's something where, it just stings, it's like you gotta absorb it. Let that be a macro suck. If it's like, damn, that's the shit that really hurt. This is an opportunity for me, right? Because then I know for me, I'm like, I'm learning to not be afraid to lose, things like that, because then you can't hurt me, you can't control me, none of that. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, dang, this is an opportunity for me to strengthen this area. And it's okay. You know what I'm saying? As long as you're aware. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this document and then we'll go from there. I believe we're almost there. So how can you practice saying no without over explaining or offering a consolation commitment? Okay. So whatever you want to put there, take some time to reflect through that. Oh, Taz, let me drop this in the chat for you. It's the live document of the class. Hyperlinks at the titles of the videos that we watch. So now, this last question tying in both videos. What is one micro suck, aka a small intentional discomfort, you can practice this week to build your discipline muscle when it comes to saying no? Right? Letting someone sit in their disappointment without fixing it. Okay. And even to the point that you mentioned, Rachel, not that this is specifically for you, but it also, okay, love you, Jess. Jay, I always call you Jay. I don't call you Jess. But do you want to say anything before you hop off or you gotta go? She said, gotta go. Tell me now, tell me no, tell me yes, tell me no, tell me now, gotta go. Love you, fam. um, so boom, to saying no. Okay, so there is the sitting in the discomfort or letting someone sit in their discomfort. As people pleasers, we want people not to be in discomfort, right? We're healers. So discomfort is like anti us, you know? So that's the positive side as to why we have the capability to be the degree of people pleasers that we can be sometimes is because we are nurturers, right? We have a capacity to help ease and to heal pain. But there's a balance of that where pain and challenge is what helps us to grow and to heal. So that is the part and the balance of us that we have to be mindful of. So letting people be uncomfortable, but then also us practicing being uncomfortable, like you mentioned, Rachel. Ooh, me taking a no. Right? Because then you may want to try to fix that for yourself, right? But this is actually something healthy that I need to sit in. And now I want to ease and people please myself in a sense when it's something that I know I need to deal with. So that's another way that you can possibly think about it in this area of people pleasing and saying no is I want to grow. We're people pleasers because we love either ourselves or someone else, right? And we're trying to express that and experience that in real life, in real time. So taking the opportunity to feel the pain and that burn is love, right? The pain of knowing that someone we care about and that we would love to please may be uncomfortable by what we said, that is love. So to rest in that like space and be like, this is true love, right? And the other side, right? I'm uncomfortable. I want to move. I want to go get that snack. I want to tell this person this or that, or I want to just get out of this discomfort of rejection and aloneness and fear, whatever it is, embracing it and forcing yourself, I won't say forcing, not forcing, right? Because we just talked about the force rat didn't get the benefit, the voluntary one did. So allowing yourself to sit in that moment, giving yourself permission to feel that discomfort, right? Pushing the mute button, doing whatever you got to do to yell, scream, like to get that out, but you cannot um violate your boundary, right? Your priorities, right? A lot of times we violate it, right? We let it down and just be like, come on, these people don't even have to beat down our boundaries. We let it down ourselves. So taking a moment to be able to allow ourselves to be in that space and to feel that, cry, yell, text somebody, whatever, still get that out, but do not like cross that line. You feel me? And we may do it. That's okay. Take the data, but that's the goal. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal of the game is to do whatever you got to do to not cross that line. So, yeah, don't cross that people pleasing line, whether it's pleasing others or at the end of it is us pleasing ourselves. It's us getting our nervous system to be at rest and at ease. Because when we are empaths, when someone else is uncomfortable, we're uncomfortable. We feel it, you know? And so that's another thing is that we want to help ease others' pain and discomfort, but it's because we can actually feel it too. And so there is an aspect of like us pleasing ourselves is kind of connected. And so yeah, those are my thoughts on that and just I guess my encouragement in having a micro suck when it comes to overcoming people pleasing and saying no. So whatever it is that um you feel like may be specific to you, if you know it's something other than this, go ahead and write it down. But I would say do no more than two. No more than two, because we want to be able to focus on executing this week. And there's no way, there's a lot of micro sucks that we probably have. Let's narrow it down to two sucks, ideally one. Go ahead, Rachie.
Oh, you mean me? Because my name is
Oh,
wrong
yes,
listed.
man. That's crazy. Go
It's
ahead.
hilarious. That's me, number two. Um, does it speak to um the people that enjoy do like the service of others, like the balance between the pleasing versus like that's what I like to do? Because there's some people that's like that's what I live to do, just to do that. So like if that's who you are, in essence, like how do you decipher whether it's being abused if you're just doing it to please, like by preference versus like the opposite, whatever the opposite is, like does it speak to that?
No,
Like, or do you have anything to say to that?
no, absolutely. So having goals is important. And so because we have capacity to serve others, we tend to fill up all of our time and everything with other people's needs and we neglect ours. So a clear line is, am I not getting what I need? Am I empty? Do I not have an abundance to give from? Those are some signifiers to looking at the situation like, could this be unhealthy? Um, because it's fine to give until it's not, until we're starting to get taken advantage of. And that's where the people pleasing comes in because there is an excess or a an overworking of that gifting, right? To where we start to feel misused. Like you say, use me, just don't misuse me or abuse me. So if misuse and abuse is in the vicinity, then that's an opportunity to kind of to assess and say, all right, where can I pull back? Where do I need to say no?
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes me think about when there's like people that, for example, that like always give people rides or like do charity work or do stuff for the kids and they go into debt, you know what I'm saying, or go into a deficit, like understanding like, okay, how can I give and share from an empty, like the balance between knowing that you don't have it to give, I think sometimes can put two people in a crisis, when you overpromise and you can't deliver.
Absolutely. And if you get a chance to check out that video on how can I say no or how can we say no, she hits on, just some of those things and why it's so easy for us to kind of do that. And so these tools and kind of protocols that we just went over in this lesson are just little signifiers to kind of be like, oh, just take a moment and look. It's a notification like, oh, check this out, check that out before moving forward. Um, so yeah, yeah.
I think another way to look at it too is like I think that like we we don't have a way to combat when God says no other than like praying through it. So like when people say no, we have this like anger, animosity because we can pinpoint that towards them. But when God says no, we might put that on man, like maybe it could be like a power in the idea that, hey, like, for example, like if you get denied for a job, you could be like, well, you wasn't the person denying me anyways. God didn't want me to work here. So like you didn't say no, God did. And I think that if you look at God as saying no versus the person, it might take a lot less pressure or power out of that person's resistance because it could just be divine that God used that person to tell you no. What if the whole time God was like, I want you to tell them no, because I have another person that's gonna tell them yes. So just, like a different way of looking at no in that way.
1000%. That's the essence somewhat of that second agreement, which is don't take anything personally. Um, yeah, yeah. If you don't do that, it's like, man, I'm good. This is for something, and not to even be cocky with it, but it's like we all human and we all, you know, don't get what we want all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's not like God favors me, and so God's gonna show you, like, we know that's not the essence of what you're saying. Um, but yeah, it's just we gotta
And you know
hope for.
about That part hopeful. So I feel like you could look at no and put a spit on it. It'd be like no is just short for not right now. The no and no is not right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not no. It's just you know what I'm saying. So when you hear no, you just say to yourself like, oh, that's just
Like
not right now.
not this time.
Or not in the
Exactly.
way, because what I
Yeah.
recognize, we'll have a sense of something, and then our first interaction, our most recent interactions with that download or thing that we got, we're like, that's it. But it's like we're in the direction, but it may not be that exact thing. We may find out, oh, it
Right.
unfolded in a different way. So it's like there may be
Hmm.
more unfolding because I know
Right.
I'm supposed to be going in this direction. So if this is a no, then it's like it's close, but
Yeah, it's not right now. It's just like it's not no. I didn't. You're halfway there. It's not right now. Like not no. Like so
Right. And before
saying
we
that to you is
sway away this, I want to say my bad for interrupting, but it's something I learned this Sunday where he's like, when the pastor was like, sometimes we put pressure. We think we're putting pressure on God by saying that He's going to do it. Oh, my God told me I'm about to get this money in 3 months. I know it's deemed to be true. Like if like after you praying for something, you say I want this, Lord, and you think you're gonna get the answer right now or on your time. Well, sometimes he'll hold it back and say, well, I'm just teaching you, my time is always on time. I still love you though. I still give you that grace.
mm-hmm. Facts. Mm.
This
awesome.
moon is beautiful, y'all. Like wow.
Oh wow. Yeah, and this your moon too. No wonder you going through some stuff. Oh no, 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 no. You have we have the same moon, but I don't got no Scorpio in my chart, so you do. Um, but yeah, all right, y'all. So before we get ready to hop off, I just wanted to give some space for Rachel if you wanted to just wrap up um I guess the call and
Yeah.
of what what you just worked
Yeah.
today or this
Well,
week.
I just want to say, man, it's just gonna be tough. I don't know if I want it on the record, but I just to close out just to say,